furry people, as I refer to them, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, you've got all kinds of descriptions. And there are probably 20 different types of hairy hominids worldwide that are probably related in some way to your sequential Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, some relation there, but we've got different types of hominids, hairy hominids that walk upright like man. That, to me, is getting further away from cryptozoology, and I'll tell you why, because of Dr. Melba Ketchum's study. It was a DNA study, took about 5 years, and we released the findings in 2013 at a press conference in Dallas. What I'd like to go into on is the mitochondrial DNA. That's the DNA from the mother. The original mother is what the mitochondrial is going to pull up. The mitochondrial DNA was human. And it isn't that we share so many different traits with these creatures. We had Jewish ancestry. We had Germanic ancestry. We had Native American ancestry. We had Asian ancestry. These were human mothers that originally hosted whoever the progenitor of the species was. When we do the whole genome, there's billions and billions of pairs of everything in GenBank. Nothing came back as a match. This was brand new DNA for the Who's the Daddy. We're going to be on the Jerry Springer show or something here. Who's the Daddy? There's nothing in GenBank that matches the DNA that came out of the whole genome, which is the nuclear testing where we get both the mother and the father together. So it's brand new DNA.
I mean, it almost sounds like a hybrid to me.
It is a human hybrid, definitely. There's some other universities, major studies, and I'll let them toot their horn, but I'm aware of what they're doing. And basically, Scientifica, that's my new word, Scientifica, parked a bus, a Greyhound bus, on top of the study. They had their disinformation agents out. They belittled and marginalized Dr. Melba Ketchum and the other co-authors who were all forensic scientists and so forth and DNA people on the study. They were already ready to destroy the study when it came out. What's exciting, these other universities are coming up with the same similar findings the Ketchum study did. So time will be, I'm looking forward to them publishing and showing similar findings to our DNA study.
So when we're dealing with a hybrid like this, the first thing that comes to mind for me is I think back to the Book of Enoch. And, and the Smithsonian is pretty much trying to blot out any real information, any real research from the public eye when it comes down to these types of hybrids.
Well, the Smithsonian is the original CIA. Believe me. Farmer Brown found a 12-foot tall skeleton while he was out plowing his field. A representative from Smithsonian is on his way out to talk to Farmer Brown and confirm his findings, and you never hear about it again. Because Smithsonian snatches up the skeleton, the body, whatever it was, and they take it away. If it doesn't fit into their narrative of history, they hide it. They make it disappear.
Now, just while we're talking about the hairy people, this is the umbrella that we're dealing with, what people like to call the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot and various other names, and dealing with something...
I've been around the country, and I've been on the swamps of Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. I've been in a lot of different places. There's some stuff down there that I don't know that we got any type of DNA samples from. In the end, we had 111 samples come in from Canada and the United States, and they all matched the same genus to make it into the study. There may well have been some other type of upright walking hairy primates who didn't match the parameters to make it into the study, who are every bit some type of hairy hominid.
So again, folks, we're not dealing with a natural existing, link in the evolutionary chain. We're dealing with a hybrid creature. And in dealing with that, one of the things that I tend to lean on is that a lot of people who do the research into the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot, and I know it does sound silly sometimes because there's a lot of disinformation out there, but they talk about how they can jump. And I don't mean jump up and down. I mean how they can, 1 minute you see them, 1 minute you don't. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
And it's a head scratcher. We had almost 3/4 of a mile long track line up on the reservation here about a year and a half ago. And the guy, something was on his butt. I don't know if it was a helicopter or what, but he goes and he's running. You see where he slips, falls, leaves a butt print, gets back up, starts running again, goes from 5-foot strides to 7-foot strides, and suddenly the track line ends. And we had Navajo PD out there. We had the Navajo Rangers out there. I had my Ute tracker out there. I had Chief Dan, our Navajo Elder tracker out there. Nobody could explain where this guy went. Either he sprouted wings, got beamed up. I don't know. And that's happened to a lot of researchers out there. Suddenly the track line they're on ends, and there's nowhere they could have went.
And that I guess that kind of puts us back to the idea that they could be an interdimensional or an extra-dimensional being. And I know that when we're dealing with that theory, it can cause a lot of people to get really uncomfortable. But just like with the black-eyed children or the black-eyed kids, they're known to be there 1 minute, the next minute, boom, they're gone. If they were created with mixed DNA, possibly some fallen angel DNA, but if that were the case, then they would have characteristics and qualities of more than just our dimension. They would have characteristics.
Well, exactly. And once again, we go back to the progenitor of the species. Who's your daddy? I'm saying for the first time we've got angelic DNA on file. And I remember Dr. Melba Ketchum telling me how this DNA, if she could synthesize it, it's bulletproof. She could cure cancer. She could do all kinds of interesting things with this DNA because it was really resilient, tough DNA, and it was really tough to work with. It would morph.
I think it's fascinating that you're telling us this about the DNA.
It was just really resilient, bulletproof DNA.
Would you have any thoughts about that with the days of Noah coming back and, just the fallen angel technology with creating some of these hybrids that some would call cryptids?
Well, I'll tell you, in the end, 90% of what I'm dealing with in the flesh and blood variety is a successful DNA manipulation that's still with us. Successful. And we've got to go back to Joshua and Caleb. Go in, kill all the men, kill all the livestock. In some of these cities, kill everything. Don't even bring the livestock back. Everything needs to die. This is getting rid of the genetic manipulations. Their genetics, those who were successful that are still out there that I'm still looking for, essentially are letting them come in and interact with me. Their DNA is breaking down also. The angelic principality DNA has been breaking down for eons now. Unless they get a fresh DNA from an angelic principality, they're going to continue breaking down. And so is Sasquatch. They're part of a successful genetic manipulation, feral giant, if you will. They're still out there.
They are products of the fallen angels and genetic manipulation.
I'm on that same page.
It's unbelievable. And, it's some of this stuff it's going to be hard for some people to wrap their heads around. Some of these things you say, oh, I wish I could just see one of those. And then you see it and you wish you could take it back.
I wish I could take it back. I've never had a mushy-gushy, pleasant feeling around the furry people. It's not pleasant. And it's just, we're wired to see monkeys and bears and polar bears and penguins and things like that at the zoo. We're not wired to see this stuff. And in the back of my mind and my heart of hearts, I'm like, this shouldn't be. This shouldn't be.
It never should have been. And that's
never should have been.